it 2-0. But we all know 2-0 isn't so secure in the Tavern Takeover, man. You got to be careful. And it is going to be that Warlock, and with the Ancient Watcher, the Soul Siphon, we can tell already. Like we said, it's going to be that handlock.
Right. So his opening hand is actually sort of tricky.
Yeah.
Because something like a Silenced Ancient Watcher can do a lot of work, but he knows that I'm playing Miracle. So if something like Sap comes out early, it ends up turning into kind of just 4 damage.
Yep.
But to the same time, though, it's good to pull those saps away from your opponent so that they can't sap your extremely important cards later on. Actually, very surprised to see him mulligan the Owl when he's got the Ancient Watcher. He's thinking about, again, it being sapped, but I think he's undervaluing the fact that if I have to sap it early on, it means that I can't sap a Taunted Giant later.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. I mean, fighting against handlocks, their HP doesn't really matter unless you have something that can get through all those. And when you run out of removal, you run out of a chance in the game. I mean, it's like, I've played so many games, and I'm sure everyone has played so many games against these handlocks where, they're down to like 10 HP or something, but then two giants come down in the Argus and you don't have anything to get through it. It's like, well,
you have to be very careful against a deck like this because, when you see Faceless Leroy coming into his hand already, not necessarily cards that he wants to see at this point, but touching again on their life totals, you kind of want to keep Warlocks around, or handlocks anyway, around the 15 health range, because it makes Molten Giant kind of awkward to play for them. Yeah. So what you're looking to do is you're looking to set them up at 15 health, even if it means foregoing attacks with some of minions, and then trying to burst them the next turn so that they can't taunt up their Molten Giants.
Yep, definitely makes a lot of sense there. We do see the Sunfury Protector coming out, so he is going to have the activatable for the Ancient Watcher.
And that's a big draw, that Mountain Giant.
Man. The turn 4 Giant is so scary, but it's always going to be that turn 4 card. With the Warlocks, I mean, they always have the turn 4 monstrosity, man. It's going to be a Drake or it's going to be a Giant. Almost always they're going to have something pretty scary there. And Cold Blood. So Cold Blood Pirate, there's 6 damage. We know he has that Death Coil in his hand, so if you do that though, or Mortal Coil in that.
Yeah, the purpose of this play was actually to prevent him from playing something like a Twilight Drake or a Mountain Giant. Yeah. And unfortunately for me, he's able to play an Ancient Watcher instead. So when he plays, if he plays this Ancient Watcher, it to me, from my perspective, it's a huge surprise because I'm like, how did this hit the board? So this is a monumental point of confusement for me. And now my play looks a little bit foolish because he's able to develop so well after I've forced him into a tempo play.
Yeah, so I mean, kind of just hoping that it would mess up that turn 4 play, but he ended up having a pretty decent one anyway. So, thinking about the Deadly Poison here, and it's going to go for it. So, Deadly Poison plus the Van Cleef. So, a 4/4 Van Cleef, I mean, what were you thinking with that?
Well, at this point, I have to be able to get lucky enough to kind of follow up on this Van Cleef. I'm just going to have to try to deal him damage and then kill him with spells. So he's actually just going to get effectively a free turn from Molten Giants if he has them. And I don't really have any way around that. He's also got Soulfire, but good news for me, of course, is that he discards the Defender of Argus. But at this point, the game's looking extremely grim because not only do I not have an efficient way to deal with this Mountain Giant, but I also don't have any way to burst my opponent as well.
Yeah, and I mean, he also has the Sunfury Protector in his hand for the activatable as well. So, I mean, really at this point, I mean, you have Sap, but do you even bother sapping the Giant? He can just play it next turn. I mean, you kind of have to, though, almost.
Sort of in that same regard. At that point, when I played the Edwin Van Cleef, my goal is to get as lucky as I can. So now at this point, like, what do I do to pull ahead at this point? I need to draw like almost exactly Leroy and Shadow Step, and then be able to diffuse potential taunts. So when he discards the Defender of Argus, it's kind of giving me the idea that maybe I can recover this. But again, I don't want to sap this Mountain Giant because it's going to be the exact same problem next turn. I don't have any real development after I sap this Giant. None of my plays look very appealing here.
Yeah, I mean, the Earthen Ring Farce here, you're at full HP. You're not really getting that much out of that. There's really not a lot of plays. I mean, you have the Blood Mage plus the Eviscerate, but what is that really doing for you?
Here we go.
It's kind of a rough go there. So we're gonna sap that out. And I mean, what do you think about the Blood Mage plus the Avis to get rid of that 5? I mean,
as it stands, I like this play because my only real chance to win this game is to hope that my opponent doesn't have something like a Sunfury Protector and just be able to push through for burst. So the play is incredibly inefficient in terms of development. I don't develop very much. I don't get a big advantage by sapping this. I kind of just try to buy another turn.
So you're just basically saying I'm too far behind.
Right.
Chances to get lucky.
Absolutely.
And just going for it.
And that's sort of, again, the mark of a player who's in that sort of position is that when they have to get lucky, they're going to try to get lucky.
Yeah.
I don't have another hope to try to win this game. So this second sap, if he has a Sun Fury Protector, is pretty close to a perfect draw. But again, still at this point, how do I push through for the win?
Yeah,
is what's going through my mind, and it's extremely difficult to find a relevant line at this point.
Yeah, there's not a lot of plays here. I mean, you had Blade Flurry, but you know what I mean. You obviously could do Blade Flurry, Blood Mage, Eviscerate, and kill the one giant or something like that. You know, but there's also this play and then sapping it. I mean, the scary part here for me is, when you are sapping that back, you just know it's going to come out once again, and you don't really have any way to kill anything off. But like you said, you just kind of have to go all in at this point.
Right. So looking at this position, I actually feel a little bit more comfortable here because now if my opponent doesn't have another taunt, I again still have more potential draws for lethal. Yeah. So we've seen a Defender of Vargas discarded. We see a Sun Fury Protector on the board. He's facing down potentially 6 points of damage in play. 7 points if you count the Blood Mage, and then whatever card is in my hand. But he knows I don't have saps, so he's got to just take his time and make sure that he's setting up a defense that allows me the fewest opportunities possible to be pushing through for lethal. So with this play right here, I like it a lot. That Blood Mage giving me a card at this point is actually a bad thing.
Yeah.
So when he is not Mortal Coiling this Blood Mage, which a lot of people would do instantaneously, this is actually a very good play because not only that, but he's looking to try to kill me in a couple turns to minimize the way that I can top deck out of this, so to speak.
Yeah. So he's going to go with Mountain Giant, Ancient Watcher once again, but no taunt. And it is still a little bit nerve-wracking. I mean, the card draw there with your Zerdrake is not a bad draw at all, but you're kind of hoping to pull something out of that.
Right.
And now the Gadget Zane Auctioneer comes out, but you don't really have a lot to do with that. So do you throw away the Blood Mage here, just trying to get the card draw? I mean, you can Blade Flurry. You can obviously deal some damage here. You have the 3 from the Blade Flurry, it's affected by spell power, so it's 5, right?
Yeah, it's 5 damage at the moment.
So 5
from Blade
plus
Flurry.
you have the 1, so you have 6 damage. You can bring him to 5 HP, but where's the follow-up, I guess? And you're probably pretty nervous about taunts and everything. I mean,
right.
Yeah. So
at this point, I'm thinking through my deck. Is there any relevant draw?
Yeah.
Because I want this Blade Flurry to be able to finish my opponent, if it's possible. So I'm trying to think through every relevant draw in my deck that matters at this point, and if they matter, should I go for them? So as simple as this turn looks to be, it's not that simple because I also don't need to clear this board at the moment because the Ancient Watcher is not really a threat, and this Mountain Giant's going to be attacking one way or the other. I have no way to stop it. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm totally okay with waiting. I don't think he has another taunt. I think he would have taunted the Mountain Giant. And that's why I elect to wait, just because I also want to draw a card off the Gadget Zane Auctioneer. So if I draw something like Preparation, Gadget Zane Auctioneer plus Preparation plus Blade Flurry might be able to start to break the game open. And as it stands, just wasting a Blade Flurry in this spot, it's not a waste because it deals damage, but it's a waste because it cripples a lot of my potential opportunities to get lucky.
Yeah. Now, I mean, if you're Reynad here, are you thinking, maybe I should Soul Siphon just even for the heal? Like, are you getting a little bit nervous about your life total? So, you're at 10 HP. You still haven't drawn another taunt. I mean, sure, you could go double Twilight Drake. There's a lot of options with things like that. But, I mean, at what point do you start feeling, I just need to use a Soul Siphon?
He's got to be mindful of life totals at this point.
Yeah.
I've consistently been pushing at his life total. I have very few cards in his hand. And I think at this point he's comfortable with the game state. But I think what he's not comfortable with is the fact that I have so many efficient draws in my deck at this point, or potentially efficient draws. So when he makes this play, this is exactly what I would have done in his position.
Yeah,
it's the best because it denies me the ability to deal 1 damage with this Blood Mage. If I don't have anything, I'm going to be forced to draw a card with it. And it also, given his hand context with the Leroy and the Faceless Manipulator, it gives him a big potential to be able to just kill me as well. So,
that's pretty. SI Agent coming out. I mean, you're going to trade that on keeping him card draw, backstab, SI Agent. I mean, you have the potential to perhaps kill him next turn. Maybe, but depending on your card draws, it's 9 HP is a very scary place to be. But at the same time, still, he does have 1 more taunt activated. Like, get 1 more taunt. You never know. Oh my God, the Leroy. Oh, so this is actually becoming pretty close. Like,
it would have been close, but it's really unfortunate for me that my opponent has this exact same combination of cards, because as you're looking at, this is 24 damage coming out from Reynad this turn with Soulfire, Leroy, and Faceless Manipulator. Yeah. So not the burst that I was anticipating, obviously, when I Shadow Step this Auctioneer, but a very well played game from Reynad, and showing the potential again of this handlock deck. Don't count this deck as a slow one, because it's not necessarily always slow.
Yeah, so